All right. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the one and only Wrestling Otaku channel, your personification of excellence on YouTube and YWC. We're the best reviews wrestling and your three-time YWC channel of the year. And I'm back here. It is now officially past midnight. It's actually 1 a.m. here. It is officially Sunday, February 16th, 2025. So I figure I'd go ahead here and give a little reaction, if you will, my recap of AEW's Grand Slam Australia show that took place, of course, yesterday. Well, technically it was taped before that, but I guess technically in Australia it was Saturday. So, but anyway, so the show just wrapped up on TNT. Of course, they had the late broadcast, if you will, basically in the same time slot as Collision, although 2 hours prior, or I should say 2 hours later, because they had the whole NBA coverage and they had to wait for that. So the actual show didn't start until going on 11 p.m. here Eastern time. So, and it just ended. So, but I wanted to give you guys my recap of AEW's Grand Slam Australia show and what a show it was, emanating from the Brisbane Entertainment Venue in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. AEW's first ever show to take place in the land down under, and what a show it was. The energy was great, the crowd was hot, and it was a packed stadium, packed arena. So for all the people who were saying for months and weeks on end, talk about the show's going to be a failure. Oh, they're not selling tickets, so it's not going to be a sellout. The arena's going to be half empty. Oh, it's not going to be it's not going to be good. The show's going to be a failure. Blah blah blah, and all that stupid shit that they were saying. Well, looking at the show tonight, looking at the venue, if you will, looked like a pretty damn packed crowd to me. Looked like a damn sellout to me. And they had nice shots of the crowd, throughout the show. So it wasn't just one side. They showed the entire crowds. And it was a jam-packed arena there in Brisbane, Australia. So for anybody who was saying that going into it, don't you all look stupid once again, as I said in my video yesterday. But anyway, now that I got that out, with that being said, let us kind of go over the matches here. So there were 5 matches on the show. We kicked off with big tag match. It was Kenny Omega teaming up with Will Ospreay for the first time ever to take on the team of the Don Callis family, that being the international champion Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, with Mark Davis at ringside. Excellent match, excellent outing, as you would expect. A good 20 plus minute match. Both teams went all out. They took it to the wire, and some really fun spots. You had some really nice back and forths, as you would expect from these 4 guys, from both teams. And obviously, the storyline going in was that Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay want to get at the Don Callis family, for basically making their life hell, for the majority of the last year or so. And it was a solid match. No complaints at all. This was a very, very good outing here, and a great match to kick off the show, a great match to open the show. And so solid back and forth. And Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay get the victory here, as you would expect. So they get one up on the Don Callis family here, and Omega and Ospreay, the team of Omega and Ospreay, in their first ever tag match, get the win here. And what a showing it was. The crowd was really fired up for this match. They were really amped up for this match, and it was a great outing for all 4 guys, and great way to start off the show. So Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay get the victory over the Don Callis family there. So moving on, I'm just going to briefly go through every match. This isn't necessarily a full-on review. This is more so just my recap. So this is going to be necessarily a long video or a long stream, but that was the opening match. So then from there, we get our second match of the show, this one being the women's match for the TBS Championship. The champion, Mercedes Moné, versus the homecomer, the Australia's own Harley Cameron, emanating from the same place as Tony Storm, Gold Coast, Australia. And the crowd was very much into Harley Cameron, as you would expect. And this match only went about 12 minutes. I thought it was a nice outing for both ladies. And to me, anyway, the right person won. Mercedes Moné gets the victory. She retains the title. And I said going in, because a lot of people were, stating on social media, and I saw, some people upload videos, content creators here on YouTube upload videos about, the prospect of Harley Cameron winning here and winning the TBS title. And while I'm not necessarily opposed to that, I'm not necessarily opposed to Harley Cameron winning a title and getting a significant push in AEW. I just think it's too soon to kind of pull the trigger because, as you guys, may or may not already be aware, Harley Cameron's only had one singles win in her career in AEW, and that to me that's pretty astonishing. Like I actually didn't know that. They actually mentioned that on TV multiple times. Before she got that win over Taya Valkyrie on Collision a couple weeks ago, she literally had not had a single victory in the company since she's been there, and that's obviously she started out as a more of a kind of a lackey, if you will. She was brought in by Saraya. Well, actually, she was around before Saraya. She was I forget like where she. Oh yeah, she was part of that whole QTV thing, with QT Marshall and Johnny TV and that whole thing. And then later she moved on to align herself with Saraya, and then ever since then she was just since Saraya's been sidelined. We haven't seen Saraya in a good while. Harley Cameron's pretty much been a solo act. And in the last few months, she's really, really gotten over with the crowd. It's really kind of a shocking kind of turn, if you will. Like the crowd really starting to get behind Harley Cameron. And a lot of it can be attributed to her own ability. A lot of it can be attributed to how she is as a character, how entertaining she's been with these segments and these promos and such that she's cutting. And it's really a phenomenal story if you think about it. A woman who went from basically an enhancement talent, basically a background character, if you will, to being one of the more, I guess you could say the up and coming, more over acts currently in AEW. It's kind of the same thing with the Outrunners. Like if you remember, the Outrunners were more of an enhancement talent team, and then the crowd really started to get behind them, and then AEW started to get behind them. They started to, have more show more video packages for them, give them more of a give people more of a background story on like who they are and what they're about and stuff like that. And the Outrunners have gotten a little bit of a push as well. They haven't been champions yet, but it's just like it's one of those kind of things. It's the same thing with the Outrunners. The same thing right now is happening to Harley Cameron. It's really great to see, seeing the fanfare for Harley Cameron nowadays. So I do think that at some point she should get the rub, if you will, from the company, because again, if the crowd is behind her, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. But I just feel that it's too early. Like I said, getting back to my main point, she's only had one singles win in her career in the entirety of her time in AEW. So to me, I think she needs to be more of an established wrestler, get her some more wins, get her some more credibility in terms of being a singles wrestler, and, really establish her in the division, by getting her some wins, getting her some momentum, and then you put her in that spot. And I think that's the way to do it. But I just feel that having her go over talent like Mercedes Moné, who's right now undefeated since coming to AEW, I don't think that necessarily would have been the way to go. But yeah, AEW, to me, doing the smart thing, having Mercedes Moné go over here. And now you can basically build the story of Harley Cameron being in the chase, if you will, and obviously this is not going to be it. I imagine they're going to have Harley Cameron continue to, try to, work her way back into title contention. It's going to be the story of, the pursuit of the title, the pursuit of the rematch. So hopefully they go in that direction with Harley Cameron. It's going to be very interesting to see how they book her going forward. But I do think the right person won here. I think Mercedes Moné needed to retain the title here. So that's just me. Moving on. So I just had to get it through all that because, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about Harley Cameron and whether or not she should win the title on the show. And I get it, it's her home country. She obviously had the crowd behind her and this, that, and the third. But I just don't think this was the right time to pull the trigger. Not yet. But I think down the line, definitely, if she is this over, she's this hot, I don't see any reason to not pull the trigger on her. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting story. Harley Cameron could be one of the big stories, feel-good stories of 2025 in the AEW. Moving on, so our third match was another tag match, the Brisbane Brawl. It was the Death Riders, John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli with Marina Shafir versus Adam Copeland or Cope and Jay White. Very physical match as you would expect here. You had lots of weapon spots. You had lots of, you know, outside stuff going on. Of course, you had Marina Shafir on the outside. She ran interference every now and then, which you're going to expect, especially with the Death Riders and John Moxley being involved in the match. And then later you saw Wheeler Yuta get involved and, prevent Cope and Jay White from getting victory, getting the win on several occasions. And you saw some table spots. You saw weapon spots. At one point, Cope introduced a barbed wire steel chair, which he hit Moxley with in the back, and Moxley was bleeding from the back a little bit, from those barbs from the barbed wire. And at one point, it looked like he was going to go for a concerto, and then that was interrupted by, again, Will Yuta. And, it basically became more of a numbers game, even though Jay White and Cope did take the fight to Moxley and Claudio. Eventually, the numbers game was just too much, and the Death Riders ended up getting the victory by virtue of John Moxley choking out Cope. Claudio Castagnoli hit his finisher, the neutralizer. Cope kicked out, and then Moxley immediately applied the Bulldog Sleeper. And after about half a minute or so of him struggling, he eventually passes out. The ref calls for the bell. So the Death Riders get the victory there. And after the match, the beatdown continues. They beat down on Cope. They beat down on Jay White, and that's pretty much it. So the Death Riders continue to run roughshod over AEW, which, again, you expect. And as it was announced on Dynamite, at Revolution on March 9th, we're going to see John Moxley defend the AEW World's title against Cope. So this is not going to be the last time we're going to see these two guys in the ring against each other. And I expect that world title match to be much the same as this one, very physical. Hopefully there's not too much interference, and all that outside shenanigans, but I imagine it's, hopefully they put on a show. And I imagine they will put on a show for that match, when it does come, when Revolution takes place in March. But very fun match there, very physical, obviously, had all the, like I said, the weapon spots and all. It was a good match. Death Riders get the win. Then we get our fourth match. This one being for the Continental Championship, Kazuchika Okada versus Buddy Matthews. Buddy Matthews, another Australia-born native, and he, of course, had very much had the crowd behind him. Yeah, Kazuchika Okada antagonizing, Matthews. The little, I guess you could say, back and forth. The segments that these two have had have been very entertaining. In the build up to this match, and then Buddy Matthews, as you guys know, has recently kind of branched out on his own along with Brody King because, Malachi's not there anymore. So now they're known as the Hounds of Hell as a tag team. And I think they're going to be a force in that tag division, in the AEW tag division. And Buddy Matthews is very much a viable threat as a singles guy, as is Brody King. And this match was solid, very technically sound match. Both guys going back and forth at several points in this match. Buddy Matthews made it seem like he was going to pull the upset over Okada. Like, it was a very, very closely fought match. And Okada at one point hit the late in the match, hit the Rainmaker clothesline, and he only got a 2 count. And it's like one of the first times in AEW, or the first time in AEW, that anyone has kicked out of a clean hit with the Rainmaker clothesline. Again, the crowd was really into it. The crowd was really behind Buddy Matthews, as you would expect. Hits a couple moves. He got some very close near falls. Had a interesting looking cloverleaf submission, which Okada eventually got out of. Then eventually the match ends with Okada countering a move attempt by Buddy Matthews. He grabs the referee and then hits the low blow from behind the referee's back. Hits a second Rainmaker clothesline, gets the pin for the 1-2-3 and the win. So Kazuchika Okada secures a victory over Buddy Matthews and retains the AEW Continental Championship, which, again, I fully expected, but Buddy Matthews made it look, Buddy Matthews wrestled a very good match with Kazuchika Okada, and I think he really established himself as a singles guy in this match. And I very much would not mind seeing a second match between these two somewhere down the line, whether there be a title on the line or not. And I think these two guys have really good chemistry together. They were really good in the ring together, and Buddy Matthews is basically showing you, he's making a case that On top of being a tag guy, he's a very solid singles wrestler, and he has been for a long time. He's got that potential. Kazuchika Okada obviously is Kazuchika Okada. I mean, he's one of the best in the world, and I imagine at some point down the line, Kazuchika Okada will be in that world title conversation when all this stuff is said and done with the Death Riders and Mox and everything. But Kazuchika Okada, eventually is going to be on the top of the card. That to me is undeniable. Same thing with Will Ospreay. Same thing with Kenny Omega. These guys are at some point going to be in that world title conversation. It's only a matter of time. And then we get to our main event, the final match, the fifth match in the show, which ended up being the main event of this show, which I think everybody expected this to be the main event of the show. For the AEW Women's World Championship, the champion Mariah May defended against former champion Timeless Toni Storm. And Toni Storm was looking great tonight. She had on her usual attire. She had the Australia flag or logo embroidered into her ring attire. And obviously, she was very much the fan favorite here. And the crowd did not take to Mariah May at all. So this obviously was a rematch of their last match at All In last year in London at Wembley Stadium, which, of course, Mariah May took the title from Toni Storm in that match. And in this match, very physical as you would expect, both ladies going at it. Toni Storm dominated for a good majority of it, hitting at one point in like 4 or 5 really German suplexes in succession. And Mariah May had really no answer, at least in the early going. And then eventually Mariah May made a comeback. She worked Toni Storm over on the outside, hit a couple nice shotgun drop kicks, including one from off the top turnbuckle. At one point, Toni Storm hit Mariah May with her own finisher, the Mayday for a 2 count. Mariah May hits the Storm Zero and then followed it up with a Mayday for another 2 count. Later on in the match, Mariah May hits 2 more of her finishing move, Mayday, for again another 2 counts. So both ladies kind of kicking out of their own finishers here, kicking out of each other's finishers as well. And the back and forth continued. Then eventually, as it looked like Mariah May was going to go for another finisher, Toni Storm slips out the back, pulls it down, small package, gets the 1, 2, 3. And just like that, Toni Storm wins the match. And Toni Storm is once again your new AEW Women's World Championship, getting payback on her former protege, getting retribution. And seemingly everything has come full circle with these two, as Mariah May, who took the title from Toni Storm in the beginning before Toni Storm made her, or took her leave of absence, if you will, her hiatus. And now she comes back. First match against Mariah May. Rematch, if you will. And Toni Storm gets retribution. She gets payback on Mariah May for taking the title from her all those months ago. And Toni Storm is your first ever 4-time AEW Women's World Champion. And what a reaction she got when she won that title. Like, the crowd was on their feet. They were loving Toni Storm. Like, obviously that's her home country, but they were loving Toni Storm. And I think Toni Storm is still to this day one of the most over acts in not only the women's division in AEW, but in all of AEW, you could argue. And great main event, great way to close out the show, send the fans home happy. And Timeless Toni Storm is once again your women's champion. And so it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. You got Mariah May got 1 win. Toni Storm now has 1 win over Mariah May, and Toni Storm is your champion. 4-time. They mentioned this in the commentary, your first ever 4-time AEW Women's World Champion. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what that program is going to be, or who enters the fray potentially going forward when it comes to AEW Women's World title. But anyway, that's how the show closed out, with that shot of that visual of Toni Storm holding up the title high in victory, and the crowd, basically basking her in cheers and so on and so forth. And that's how the show went off the air, at least for the TV broadcast. But anyway, that was pretty much it. Those are all the matches, and that was the recap, my recap of AEW's Grand Slam Australia show. And for me, I thought it was a great show. The crowd was jam-packed. The crowd was hot. And the crowd was very much on fire for most of the show. And there were only 5 matches, at least for this particular showing, for this particular airing. 5 matches. It wasn't a pay-per-view. It was more of a, if you want to call it a collision variation, or basically a special event show, or whatever, however you want to put it. This was a solid show to me. The opening match was really good. One of the best matches on the show, as well as the main event. The matches in between were solid as well. They served their purpose, and I enjoyed it. And AEW has already announced that next year they will be returning to Australia. I imagine for another Grand Slam show. So that's going to be awesome. That's cool, man. The fact that they're going back to it. They're going back to Australia. They've already announced they're going back to Australia in 2026. So can't wait to see what they do with that. Maybe next time they'll have it as a pay-per-view. You never know, because I think a lot of people were asking whether or not this is a pay-per-view, and it's not. It's not. It wasn't a pay-per-view. It was a special event, a special TV show, or a special event show, whatever have you, televised special event show for AEW, which they do every now and then. They do it. They have these quarterly specials for AEW. Which they televise. So we'll see what it ends up being next year. Where they emanate from next year. Will they be in Brisbane again? I saw some people in comments asking, for the show to be in Melbourne. Some people calling for the show to be in Melbourne. Some people wanting the show to go to Sydney, and yeah. So there's definitely a demand for AEW in Australia, and AEW will be returning to Australia in 2026. And I think really AEW at some point, and I think they will do this, but I think at some point AEW should expand their international reach. They should expand the shows that they do overseas, to more than just, the UK and Australia. I think maybe they should do maybe some shows in Japan. Obviously, they've got that partnership with New Japan for Wrestling and other Japanese promotions. They should maybe do a show or two in Japan. Maybe do, shows in Europe outside of the UK. Maybe do some shows in Mexico. They've got, allegiances with, AAA and CML. I don't see why they can't do more shows, international. I think at some point they will. But very fun show. Excellent outing. Obviously, Tony Storm, Mariah May was the highlight in the main event with Tony Storm winning the title. The opening match was great. And the other three matches were solid as well. And I personally think this was a success, And the fact that it was their third highest grossing gate in the history of the company, I think it's a commercial success. And I think it was, in terms of like just overall show presentation and the matches, I think it was a success as a whole. So, but anyway, that's pretty much going to do it for that. So that is going to conclude my recap of AEW's Grand Slam Australia show. Can't wait to see what they do going forward. We got Revolution in a couple weeks. Already, a couple matches have been announced for that, and so they've announced several matches for next week's Dynamite, or Dynamite in a couple days. So can't wait to see that. And we got the Road to Revolution. After this, we got the Road to Revolution, and we'll see how that pay-per-view builds up, and how where they go from here in terms of certain storylines, in terms of some of the matches we saw in here on this show. But anyway, that's pretty much going to do it for that, man. So yeah, that is going to conclude this video, this recap. That's going to conclude this little live stream. So thank you guys for watching. For the 3 or so people, at one point we had 5 people viewing this, which is greatly appreciated considering it's so late night. It's like approaching 1:30 a.m. here, my time. So just wanted to take a look at the comments here real quick, because we got 3. Twisted Fate says that was a great show. I agree. Twisted Fate. Anthony Cho. Sorry if I messed this name up. Anthony Chobot does pop culture and opening. How are you doing? He says, how are you doing? How are you doing, buddy? I say, how are you doing? What's going on? Thanks for tuning in. And Brain Shop says, yo, what's going on? So just want to respond to those 3 comments there. But for everybody watching, for anybody who's going to see this after this video is archived, thank you for watching this special recap, my recap of AEW's Grand Slam Australia show. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I for sure did, and I think it was a success, much to the chagrin of the AEW haters, and can't wait to see where they go from here, man. So in a couple weeks, I will be doing, the week of, I should say, the week leading up to AEW Revolution, when the match card is, fully established. I will be doing a predictions video for that, so you'll be seeing that here on the channel. So be looking forward to that, and want to see what they do on Dynamite this week. So we have several matches advertised already. There's been some news recently in regards to several returns, several talents who will potentially be returning to AEW in the very near future. Some names that are that were mentioned were Keith Lee, guys like Keith Lee, guys like there was a handful of other names. Keith Lee was the one name that stood out to me. And there's going to be a couple other potential returns as well. Eddie Kingston was another name that was thrown out. So we'll see about that. And then there are a couple names that were rumored to be debuting with AEW very soon. Obviously, the big name that everybody's talking about is Speedball Mike Bailey. Another name that was thrown out that was recently apparently picked up and signed with AEW is Jeff Cobb, of course, of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So we'll see if he ends up, at some point making a surprise appearance, or he makes his official debut with the company. And so it's going to be some very, very interesting TV. Going to be some very interesting shows for AEW for the next month or so. Looking forward to that. But anyway, that's all I got to say for this video. So once again, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate those of you who stood up or remained up to this point, or still watching. Thank you for tuning in here. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. I'm going to close this out here in a little bit. So once again, be sure to like this video, leave a comment after this is archived. Give me your thoughts on the show. Give me your thoughts on Grand Slam Australia. Which match did you enjoy the best? Which match did you think was the best? What did you like the most about the show? Go ahead and give me your input. Give me your thoughts in the comments. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support you get. We got currently sitting at 630 subscribers as of right now. So we're about less than 400 away from, the big, obviously 1,000, getting back to 1,000 subs. So hopefully we can get there by the end of, 2025. We got a good ways to go. We got 10 months left to go. So, but yeah, let's get there, man. Let's get there. But anyway, that's all I got to say for that. So thank you for watching. This has been Wrestling Otaku. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your night. Hope you guys have a good weekend. I'll see you all in the next video, whenever I decide to do it. I got a few videos planned. It's just a matter of me, taking the time to record them and upload them. So you'll be seeing quite a bit of content from me in the next week, in the next few weeks. But anyway, that's all I got to say for that. So thank you for watching once more. Till next time, this has been the Rest of Otaku. See you guys later. I'm out for now. Peace.